The jury in the sex trafficking trial of Ghislaine Maxwell has resumed deliberations. During closing arguments in New York, prosecutors described Maxwell as a grown woman who preyed on vulnerable children. Martha Kellner has more.
The court's only sitting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, then it breaks for Christmas. So there was the sense with the momentum that the jury and the judge may be motivated to try and get a verdict before that Christmas break. The jury is currently continuing its deliberations this morning. Just to give you an idea of the makeup of the jury, it's 6 men and 6 women aged between their 20s and their 70s, diverse too in terms of ethnicity. They began their deliberations around 4:50 p.m. yesterday afternoon. They deliberated only for 40 minutes yesterday before asking the judge if she would let them go home early. It had been quite a long day after sitting through lengthy closing arguments from both the prosecution and the defence. They've then been deliberating this morning for about 2.5 hours. So we've had just over 3 hours of deliberations, but it is quite a complicated charge sheet. There's 6 charges levelled against Ghislaine Maxwell, all of which she denies. There was a short period where the judge and the prosecution and defence were brought back into court this morning because the jury had requested to see copies of testimony given by 3 of the 4 accusers who have taken the stand in this case. They requested to see the testimony of Jane, who testified anonymously under a pseudonym, saying she alleged that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell had sexually abused her from the age of 14. They also requested to see the testimony of Carolyn, who testified under only her first name. She also alleged that she'd been sexually abused by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell from the age of 14. They also requested to see the testimony of Annie Farmer, the only accuser in this case to waive her anonymity. She says she was sexually abused by Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein on one occasion when she was 16 years old at his sprawling New Mexico ranch. So the jury continuing to deliberate over the 6 charges. Just to give you an idea of the closing arguments that both sides presented yesterday, the defence continued to say that Ghislaine Maxwell is being scapegoated for the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, of course, died in 2019 while on similar sex trafficking charges. They say that Ghislaine Maxwell is being punished in his absence for crimes she didn't commit. The prosecution say that Ghislaine Maxwell was every bit as much of a sexual predator as Jeffrey Epstein. They say that she served young girls up on a platter to be sexually abused by him. The jury currently considering which of those 2 arguments they believe.